Hi, this is Dr. Charlton again. I wanted to talk about the consulting proposal. So, as you may already know, the first project in our list of 4 projects to complete for the client is the initial proposal. This is a good place where we can show the client that we're on board, we know what they want, we have done some very preliminary research, so we may have some idea of how we can accomplish their objectives. And we want to demonstrate both our understanding of what they want and then also we want to show that we have a way that we can sort of get at the solution. We might already have a preliminary solution that we want to test. And so this is where we pitch that. And the goal is to sell the client on our idea and to have them give us the go ahead to work on this project. So both parts are very important. If you can't show the client that you're on the same page, that you understand what they want, what they're looking for, then you're kind of dead in the water already. But on the same token, you need to show that you can reasonably have a reasonable solution to the problem. A couple of things I like to avoid is over-diagnosing, because they've been working on this problem for years, right? And they're deep in it. You've just taken a preliminary look at this. So what you're going to promise is investigation. You're going to promise, like, you're going to say, like, well, this is a possible solution that we'll look into, but you don't want to say, like, this is why, you're your store, you're not attracting young people in your store because your store is old and ugly, and that's also offensive, right? You don't want to offend the client. We need to butter them up and win them over so that we get the gig, right? So that's the whole idea behind this project. So I'm going to walk you through each piece of it. I just have right here this guide to, I'm going to go to the actual first page. This is Working with Real Clients, a guide for marketing students. And again, I'm on page 15, which is the initial consulting proposal. So it's really important to start off the project on the right note. And once they get their proposal, they can let you know if a project seems inappropriate or improbable. And so we want that kind of feedback. So basically, for the format, I have a lot of information in here. I'm not going to go over that. Just read the instructions about how to do this. It's going to be kind of in a memorandum type format. But I want to go through and explain each of the core paragraphs. There's going to be like 3 main sections of it. So there's going to be the situation appraisal, the objectives, and the methods section. So again, 3 key sections. You also have like this introductory material and closing material, which I'm not going to talk about. You can read and just follow along. This is a very prescriptive assignment, meaning I kind of tell you exactly how to do it. So you need to follow this format because it does 2 things. One, it helps keep you from being redundant because everything is assigned to a certain spot in the document. And then number 2, it helps you present kind of your idea in a logical format. So first you show, yeah, we understand what you need. We're on the same page. We think that's a good idea. Here's how we think we might be able to solve it. We'll look more into that. And that's basically the whole thing, okay? So first of all, you start out with the situation appraisal. This is going to be fairly short. So you're going to talk about, basically at a high level, why did the client come to you? Why do they need your help? What is the marketing problem? And you're not going to diagnose it. You're not going to say, so if the marketing problem is they want to increase awareness, you're not going to say, nobody knows about it because you don't advertise and because you're not, on Instagram. You're not going to overdiagnose it. You're just going to, all you're doing is restating the problem so they can see that you're on the same page. You also want to try to get in there. You want to win them over, right? So get in there a few things they're doing right. If they're a successful business, they're going to have certain things where they do really well. Point out those strengths. But, despite all of these good things you say, there's one area where we need improvement. And so we want to focus on that thing and help you in that area. That's the argument. That's what you say. All right. So again, you don't want to diagnose the problem or give your solution in this first paragraph. You're just kind of showing them you're on the same page. So you understand their marketing problem. You understand why it's a problem. You observe some positive qualities about the company, some resources that are strengths. For example, a resource might be you have a really excellent product. It's just the awareness is low, but it's such a strength having a good, strong product. Here's an example of a situation appraisal paragraph. So it's very straightforward, and you can look at this more again in the manual. So the next section is your objectives. So you're going to state the business objectives that are to be achieved, how success could be measured. So I want to contrast that with the situation appraisal. So in the situation appraisal, you're talking at a really high level, what's going on, but you haven't really given your goals for the project. So if at a high level, it's like, we have a really good thing going on here, but kind of people don't know about it. So you want to just say, not enough people know about it. But then you go to objectives, and your objective is to make sure a lot of people know about it. So it's separate. So saying you want to get the word out is an objective. Saying that people don't really, that the one shortfall is that not enough people in the community know about it. That's the situation. So you see how they're separate. It's very important to put the right thing in the right bucket in this paper. And this guide shows you how to separate it out, what goes in what section. Now, bear in mind, I still have not diagnosed the problem or given my proposed solution. That's this next section. That's the methods section. So in the methods section, I'm going to lay out for the people, um, you know, we think that we think it's possible that awareness is low because of unclear branding, inconsistent messaging, website clutter, whatever it may be. And your method is you're going to create a solution to that, you're going to provide them with an uncluttered website design. And then you're also going to test that. So you're going to test your idea. That's essentially the method, right? Is you have a proposed kind of solution, which you give, and then it's like, how do we know that will work? So you talk about using methods of marketing research, using in-person interviews, observations, talking to people, whatever it is, to better understand how you can solve this problem, rather than just saying like, we're just going to pull something out of our hat. You're going to say like, hey, we think we can come up with a website design that will help solve your problem. And we're going to thoroughly test it with potential customers in your market to see how they respond to it and to see if it does achieve the desired objective. And we're going to go through this whole process of testing, essentially, right? So that's the method section. So again, there's 3 sections. So I'm just going to float things out there, and you can kind of think about what section of the paper it would be in. So a very common thing, and nothing goes in all 3 sections. So each things go in their own sections, specific sections. So I'm just going to float a random thing out there. One thing people often want to do is diagnose the problem. Again, I urge caution with diagnosing the problem because they've been working on it for years and you're new to it. So you want to present it very tentatively. So we think the problem may be inconsistent branding and messaging, right? So that's method. We, despite your company's success over the years in so many categories, one area where we could see improvement benefiting the company would be in the realm of increasing customer awareness. And so that's the problem they brought you. You're restating the problem, that's situation. If you're just restating the problem, that's situation. When you talk objectives, it's a very generic goals to solve their problems, okay? So it's essentially like the reverse of the situation. If the situation is awareness is too low in the community, the objective is increase awareness. You can put a little more detail than that, but you don't want to talk about renovating their website yet. That solution is going to be in your methods section. Not only do you talk about how you're going to renovate it, but what they could get out of it at that point. So again, they shouldn't learn anything new outside of the methods section. Okay. So if you're introducing things that are a complete new novelty to them in the situation or the objective section, then it's a problem because you got to build up to that. You need to first show them you're on the same page by showing them that your understanding of the situation is consistent with theirs or relatively close. Your understanding of what your objectives are geared towards solving their problem in a very broad, generic way. And then in the method section, that's where all the meat is. That's where you spend the most time in crafting your solution and talking about how you're going to test it and refine it and improve it. So that's kind of how the breakdown. For the methods section, I highly recommend following methods of testing assumptions and doing research that are outlined in the book Talking with Humans by Jeff Constable. It's a required reading for this course, and it's an excellent framework for how to go through, develop your ideas and test your ideas. So that's all stuff that can be included in the methods section. Objectives, again, is just very broad, generic goals like increasing customer engagement. You don't say that you're going to improve their website in that section, in the objective section, or in the situation section. You don't say that their website is terrible in the situation section. You just focus on their, the high level situation. And we're still at the very high level. Then in the method, you get down in the gritty, nitty gritty, dirty details. All right. So I hope that helps you understand how this is laid out. It's very formulaic and it follows a logical sequence where you are first showing the client that you're on the same page. And then in the methods section, you're showing them how you think you could solve this preliminarily. They understand you haven't done a lot of research yet. So you might want to leave that a little bit of room for wiggle there too. You don't want to completely outline everything about it. Now, one common mistake that I've seen, let me go through some common mistakes that I've seen with this initial proposal. Number one, telling the client that everything is a problem and everything needs to be solved. Okay. So there are several other student teams working on this. Your goal is to identify one solution or maybe two if they're super, super related. You want to do one thing. If you're going to redesign the website. Don't redesign the website, create a social media campaign, redesign their store, change their branding and their uniform. I mean, not only is that going to be so the problem is you're not going to have any depth of detail. Okay. So what we want is depth. We want a detailed solution. And if you're going for breadth and if you're going to solve everything for them, then you run into the problem where at the end of the day, you're going to give them nothing because they're not going to have any details about how to carry out all these projects you have in mind. Pick one thing. Let's see, what else have I run into? People mixing and matching, people diagnosing the problem in the situation paragraph. So it's okay if they say their marketing problem is they want to increase awareness in the community. It's okay for you to say up there, your problem is your awareness in the community is not as high as it should be. But you don't want to diagnose that and say it's because of this and that and the other thing, and there's so many reasons. And you also don't want to be offensive toward them. That's the third thing, right? That I see a mistake is going in there and just slamming them. Your stores are old and outdated and your branding is terrible. And, you want to really tread lightly. So 3 things, right? One solution in the methods section. Don't try to solve every problem that they could ever possibly have. You also want to make sure you get stuff in the right section. So pay really close to the book so you can make sure that you get everything in the right section. And number 3, Don't be offensive and presumptuous. Don't overdiagnose, because you haven't been in this business problem as long as they have. So don't overdiagnose. Just just try to tread very lightly with the client. And I hope this helps. And I'm of course available for questions, and we'll talk about this more in detail. But hopefully this will get you started on the right path with your client consulting project. And I can't wait to read and see what everybody has come up with for the initial proposal.